Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today I'm going to share with you my collection of hand planes, as well as share how I use each of them in my work, and then also share which ones I use the most and find the most valuable here in my shop. So let me get these hand planes out of the cabinet and onto the bench, and we'll get started. Alright, so I have all of my hand planes pulled out of my cabinet, and that thing is looking really bare. So here's all of my hand planes. I'll start over on this side with the bench planes, and then I'll get into the specialty planes over here. Okay, so the first plane I'm going to start with here is my little block plane. This is just an old Craftsman block plane that I found at a yard sale. I don't use this plane that very often. I use it only when I need to have one hand free. So basically whenever I'm not at the bench, that way I can actually plane with one hand and hold the workpiece in the other hand. It's really great for that. The next one here is a number 3. It's a Ward's Master plane, which was just made by Stanley and rebranded. This is also a restored antique. Now the next plane is a number 4. It is also a Ward's Master, and it's also restored. I'll get more into this later. This is one of my most used planes. The next one here is a number 5, also a Ward's Master, also restored. I don't use it that much, to be honest. Next here is my number 6. This I use fairly often if I'm going to do any rough milling by hand. I use this for the majority of the waste removal. I like the extra heft that it has, so it's really great for powering through the cuts and removing a large amount of material very quickly. Now this next plane here, if I can get into the shot, is a number 8. It's one of these corrugated sole ones, and I use this anytime that I need a really large reference surface. So if I'm milling something by hand, or if I need to straighten the edge of a long board, or if I need to flatten the whole face of some cabinets, for instance, I'll use this plane. This plane here is 24 inches long, and I think it's about 8 pounds, so it's pretty hefty. So the really nice thing about planes this big is once you get them going, they don't stop. They have a lot of momentum, so they're really easy to use, which is nice. I love this one. This is a lot of fun to use. Plus it's just ridiculous. So that's it for my bench planes. Out of the bench planes, the ones I use the most are going to be the 4, 6, and 8. The other ones I don't really use ever, to be honest. These are my bench planes I use the most, and out of these 3, the number 4 is always on my bench, and I'm always using it for all kinds of stuff. And to be honest, the number 5 and the number 3, they rarely, if ever, come out of my cabinet. I probably don't really need them, to be honest. Alright, next let me talk about my specialty planes. I'll start off with the router planes. I have both a large or standard sized router plane and also one of these little miniature router planes. These are great for cleaning up dados or cleaning up tenons, anything where you need to reference off one face to get a parallel cut on the other, which is going to be great for dados and tenons. I started out just with this little miniature router plane. It has a 1/8 inch cutter on it, and it's great for cleaning up little like 1/4 inch dados. This is about $40, and it works really well for how tiny and almost frail looking it is. Most recently I stepped up and I got the full-size router plane, which is a lot easier to use because it has more mass, but the little miniature router plane still works really well, and I use it pretty often if I ever need to get into something really small. On the router plane, the blades can also be replaced. I have a 3/16 inch wide blade on here right now, but I also have a 1/2 inch wide blade as well. Now the next plane here is a rabbit plane. It worked really well for me to clean up rabbits. You can use this to create rabbits as well. But ever since I got my shoulder plane, this is a much nicer plane to use than this one, at least I think it is. It's easier for me at least. And this plane is great because just like the rabbit plane, the blade extends all the way from both sides. So you can get up right into the edge or into the corner of anything. This is a low angle plane, so it works great on end grain. So it's really great for shoulders on tenons, which is where the name comes from. But it's also great for tenon cheeks, rabbits, anytime you want to get right up against an edge. Unlike a standard plane where you have that little bit of material on either side of the blade, which prevents you from going all the way to the edge. Now the next thing here is my cabinet scraper. It's a Veritas cabinet scraper from Lee Valley. It works really well. I don't really use it that often because I just prefer to use the handheld card scraper. So I have this set up for a pretty aggressive cut. It's really great for some really rough bulk removal, if I'm trying to clean up like a glue line or maybe some squeeze out or epoxy or something, I'll use this because it works really well. The card scrapers, if you're not familiar, work really great because they don't really have any concern for grain direction, figured grains, anything like that. So you're going to get a nice clean cut no matter what's going on with the wood. Now most recently, and you probably saw me talk about this a couple weeks ago, is this compass plane. Now I haven't finished tuning it up and setting it up yet, but this thing is really awesome. It allows you to plane curves. So you can either plane a concave curve or a convex curve by simply turning the knob. That adjusts the bend in the sole. And you can kind of see the mechanism here, how it just kind of bends the sole in either direction. So this is a really cool, very specialty plane, but as soon as I finish restoring it, I'm really looking forward to using it. So these next two planes here are the first ones that I ever got. I'll talk about them both individually here. Now this first little one is the first one that I ever got. It's great for general cleanup things around the shop, maybe breaking some edges, rounding over some things, general work with the hand plane. You probably won't be milling a board with this, even though I've tried. That didn't go so well back in the day. The other plane here is a number 4. It's a really cheap plane, and I never had great results with this. I probably wouldn't waste my money on this again. The blade doesn't have a chip breaker on it, so it doesn't really cut that cleanly. The adjustments are done with these two little knobs here that ride up and down this screw, and that adjusts the blade left or right. I found that to be really, really finicky and really annoying. So I never really got this plane to actually be able to work really well. It was good as a real rough plane, but didn't really give me the results that I was looking for, especially when I saw other people using hand planes and how well they worked for them. This, you might be able to tune it up so it works as well as one of these, but chances are you're probably not, and it's not going to be that great of a fun experience. So if I had to do it again, I would definitely skip this and save my 25 bucks or whatever this thing was, maybe 30, I don't know. I'll also mention that all of my bench planes and some of my specialty planes are all eBay finds. They are all used, they're really old, which is really cool. I restored, I think, 3 of them. I restored 3 of them, and then the other 3 I bought already restored. And that's a really nice option because one of these restored planes from most sellers on eBay, like this number 3, will probably run you about 50 bucks. And the blade will even be sharpened for you and ready to go. So that's a great option too if you want to kind of save some headache and not have to restore them yourself. You can pay someone else to restore them for you. And I've had great luck with that. The ones that I've gotten restored, especially like my number 4, was restored by one of the sellers on eBay, and he did an amazing job with this thing. Now something else I'll mention about the bench planes is it's a really great idea to buy one of the upgraded blades. So this blade here is from Veritas, is an A2 steel blade, and it comes with, or you can also buy the matching chip breaker for it. And just to take a look at that blade compared to stock blade that came with these planes, you can see how much more substantial the steel is. It's a lot thicker steel, and you can see the chip breaker actually does a much better job of contacting the plane blade as opposed to this style where it kind of just like loops out and around. So this style is really great, and it offers quite a dramatic improvement as far as performance goes. Not to say that you couldn't get a blade like this to do the same thing, but this is going to be a lot quicker of a route because it's going to be ready to go pretty much right out of the box. You can save yourself a few hours of headache and tune-up. So as far as upgraded blades, I have one for my number 4, and I also have one for my number 8. The number 8 blade has the PMV11 steel, which is a new steel from Veritas. It is supposed to hold an edge a lot better and sharpen about the same as the A2. Now these blades, to be honest, they're going to cost you as much as the plane, or pretty close to it, depending on how much you pay for the plane. The blade and chip breaker for my number 4, I think, was about 50 or 60 bucks, and I paid 50 bucks for the plane itself. So just keep that in mind. But you can get some pretty amazing results with just that upgraded blade. Now let me just talk a little bit about the planes that I use the most in my shop. And these are the 2 of them right here. These are the 2 planes that I'm always reaching for and I'm always using, especially my number 4. This thing is always on my bench and I'm always using it for something. It's just great for general work, and for fine work as well. You can do a lot of things with number 4, and I'm sure you've seen me use this plane a lot in my videos. The other plane I use a whole heck of a lot is my shoulder plane. I think, as I mentioned in one of my other videos, I just got this plane this past year, so I've only had it for maybe 10 months or so, but I use this thing all the time, and I don't know how I did anything with mortise and tenon before this. This just makes my life so much easier because I can do so much more cleanup, and I can get a lot more of a tighter fitting joint than I could if I had to try and set up on the table saw and get them to be perfect right off the saw. This thing is just so great, mostly because you can get that blade right into the corners of whatever you're working on, so it's just amazing for a lot of that cleanup stuff. Now, if you're just getting into hand planes and you want to know which plane should I buy first, that's one of those weird questions where it really depends on what you're doing. You know, for me, you can see the kind of things that I make. These are my 2 planes. These are my 2 go-to planes. I could probably get by without any of the other ones if I really had to. Now, if you really want to get into a bench plane, a lot of people tell you to get the number 5 because it does so many different things because of the sole length. And that's a good option as well. I just prefer the shorter plane because it's just easier to use personally. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of some of the planes in my collection. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit about the planes that I have here on my bench, maybe some that are good for you if you're looking to get into some more hand tool woodworking. There's a lot of great resources out there on the internet about which ones would be great for probably your work. And if you do use hand planes in your work, leave me a comment and let me know which ones you use the most in your work, because it is a really personal thing. It's going to be different for everyone, so I'm really interested to see, well, first of all, how many people actually use hand planes in their work, but also which ones they use, because I think that's going to help a lot of people as well to see that there is a lot of variety in the top picks of any woodworker. So thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today about the hand planes or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I greatly appreciate those, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.